Salve omne, salve. This is your host, Marius Glabrius, for this channel on YouTube, Latin Language Revival. Thank you for joining on this first part to a series following this one, dealing with the conversations between Pontius Pilate and Jesus of Nazareth. I have already uploaded the second one and backtracking here to the first one before I move on to part 3. And the reason for this is because I got flagged for some copyright material that I had to remove and having to re-record now. Hopefully you can find this just as educational and entertaining in learning some of these historical facts. The purpose of this channel, I repeat, as in previous videos, is to present the spoken Latin, classical Latin, as heard during the later Republic period of Rome and the early imperial period. And this would span between 300 BC to approximately 300 AD. This is in no way to evangelize. This is not the purpose of these presentations that I upload or any of the following ones. This is simply to present some historical facts surrounding the subject matter and ultimately presenting some Latin towards the end of this short video. If you want to skip along, that's perfectly fine. Otherwise, I move on here with some of the historical facts, beginning with Emperor Tiberius, the Caesar of Rome, during the period in which Jesus of Nazareth's ministry was in progress, with the consuls Caius Rufius Geminus and Lucius Rubelius Geminus as consuls. These were similar to a prime minister's office, in which there were two that would serve simultaneously. This is in 29 AD. With client states that Rome had under them. Client states were those kingdoms or nations or countries that retained their sovereignty, yet pledged allegiance and rendered taxes to the Roman Empire. King Herod Antipas was the king of Galilee. The prefects were governors that were in control of the provinces of Rome. Judea was the province in which Marcus Pontius Pilatus was presiding over and had full authority there, with Joseph Caiaphas, the high priest of the Jewish order, as the head of the Jewish population, making sure that they were following the expected rites and rites of passage and all the activities that were expected of a good Jew. There's been a lot of debate over the years since the putting together of the Bible, in which the question arose whether Pontius Pilate actually even existed. A rock was found in the 1950s, 1960s, one of those 2 decades, and this rock was really just a base to a statue, perhaps, or foundation to a building that used to exist here, with certain inscriptions that have been determined as proving the existence of Pontius Pilate, the only known record of Pontius Pilate's existence, and you can see it clearly here, Pilatus. IUS, the end of Pontius, for Pontius Pilatus, and right up here, Tiberi, or Tiberius, maybe eum, I'm thinking is the separate word because that is a Latin word, Tiberi, eum, and then Pontius Pilatus, all indicate and prove that there was the existence of Pontius Pilate under Tiberius in this period. To the right here, we have a map of the Judean province in the 1st century, which is exactly the period we're dealing with. Galilee right up here. King Herod of Antipas is the king of this area. Nazareth, there it is. And then right down here, we got Judea, the province of Marcus Pontius Pilatus, and ultimately where Christ was crucified. There's Jerusalem and Bethlehem. So all these are described locations very well known in the Holy Bible and in the book of Nicodemus, on which this presentation is based off of. In this slide here, we have the image or the illustration of Christ before Pontius Pilate with the high priest of the Jewish religion, Joseph Caiaphas. Looks like he's really the one who's being presented here. You can tell body language that he's presenting his case, his accusation against Jesus of Nazareth, and the leadership right there. The scribe right down here reporting the events of the court on that day in the praetorium. The praetorium being a court of law where Pontius Pilate or the governor of the province would preside over certain cases. In the book of Luke, chapter 23, and you can read this in your Bibles for the translation, the description of the accusations that were launched are detailed here. Verse 1, Et surgente omnis multitudo eorum duxerunt illum ad Pilatum. Verse 2, Coeperunt autem illum accusare dicentes, hunc invenimus subvertentem gentem nostram, et prohibentem tributam dare Caesari, dicentem se Christum reem esse. Basically, that Christ is calling himself the King of the Jews. The response of Pilate, Pilatus autem interrogavit eum dicente, tu es rex Judaeorum. Meaning, you are the King of the Jews. To be continued. Second part is already uploaded. You can listen to that and what event followed. Thank you for listening. Wale.